What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jack Ramsays Live. Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague. Yes, we're a little bit late. Yes, I just got home from the doctor. I was expecting this to happen last night, okay? I thought I had a little bit more time. I don't even have the show even ready. Let me go ahead and get things changed now, because this definitely isn't the mailbag show. It is the live show. There we go. Oh, boy. Everybody's going to pour in right now. Marissa says, Dan, if you had the power to trade CJ this whole time, why did you wait so long to use it? Marissa, good to see you back. I know it's been a while. Everybody pour in. We won't get into it right away. We'll get everybody a chance to get in here. Oh, man. I was quite literally at the doctor this morning, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, I was live on the radio, and we got the Woj tweet there. In advanced negotiations. And for me, in my radio experience, that largely means as soon as you sign off, Brandon, this is going to happen. Break. And then luckily for us, 25 minutes later, Shams dives into the, oh no, Woj, I'm breaking this first contest. And it was a pissing contest at that point. And luckily we got all the information before I signed off. So it's been a wild start to the day, but boy, oh boy, we need to dive into a lot, because I'm looking at all the NBA champion general managers on my Twitter feed, and the Blazers have completely crapped the bed. They have no chance of ever being good again, and they got fleeced in every which way.
Yeah, we'll dive into that real quick. First of all, welcome everybody in. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. If you're not, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. It's free. It's easy. It helps us grow. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the podcast. Business stuff is out of the way. Okay, so let's get into the logistics of it first, Brandon. The overall trade breakdown as given to us by Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. Let me go ahead and... There we go. Full trade per sources. The Blazers will get Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Didi Louzada, a 2020 protected first-round pick, which we'll talk about a little bit more, and 2 second-round picks. The Portland Trail Blazers will send out CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. That is the package.
So far. Should be noted, so far.
You beat me to it.
I'm sorry, but it was thrown out about 30 minutes ago.
We'll get to the next stuff shortly. But here is where we're at right now. The Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum era is over. It's done.
Yep.
They have moved on. I have tried to kind of drive home what I had heard was the goal, what was happening. And I saw quite a bit of resistance to, but Medina said this, and he told Nurk this, and da-da-da-da-da. Behind the scenes, I had heard for weeks that CJ McCollum was going to be gone at the deadline. That it was about as close to a humanly possible as done as you could get it. And that's interesting. There we go. My background just died out. There we go. We're good to go. And with that, I was operating along those lines. That they were going to try to move CJ McCollum, that the Norman Powell, Robert Covington trade that preceded that was a table setter to what they're trying to achieve, which is getting, like you alluded to a little bit later, or earlier, and we'll get to later, a fundamental reset of the organization. There has not been a reset of the organization like this in 20 years.
Yeah.
This is a entirely different. I mean, this is taking your hand across the chessboard. Whoosh. Somebody tweeted at me earlier, I think it's safe to say that Joe Cronin didn't like what Nickeil Olshey had left him. And yeah, they did not like what they had left him. And I'll tell you this, league-wide, Norman Powell and CJ's contracts were viewed awfully. League-wide. Nobody wanted to touch him. Before we get into that, I will say this. This is a fun little bit to poke at. The Lakers did call the Blazers and offer up Russell Westbrook for CJ McCollum. That did happen.
Yay! That's fun.
Russell
Westbrook playing with Dame. Let's go.
Somebody asked me, so what would you think if Russ and Dame were the same team? And I was like, well, I think Dame would have him killed at the state line, but hey, you know.
I wonder how fast Joe Cronin got off that.
I wonder what the laugh was like. I mean, right. Joe probably picks up the phone laughing and just hits him with a, Just a big solid yeet right off the top. Like, no, that's cute.
I don't even think it was a laugh. I think it was a cackle. I think he just like maniacally leaned back in his chair like.
It was one of those things like when you're a kid, you got to go door to door and sell candy bars, and before you even get up to the door, that person's not buying, but your parents are making you go anyways. That's what I bet that felt like. So,
God, I'm so bad at that. I just ate the candy bars and had to pay for it.
It's gonna be interesting. So, from the Blazers' point of view, let's get to that first. What the Blazers have done here is that let me pull up my math chart here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much money, Brandon, the Portland Trailblazers have on the books next year?
I think, to my knowledge, it's somewhere in the 60 to 68 range, right?
$62 million.
$62 million.
61.892.
There we go.
Based on what I have for salaries.
Mm-hmm.
That does not include Eric Bledsoe's 19.3 whatever that is non-guaranteed. So if you want to add the 3.9 to that, they owe 65.
Mm-hmm.
The cap just rose, right?
Yeah, to 147.
Oh, okay. So what's 147 minus 61?
Really bad at math, but it's a lot of money.
Okay. So the Portland Trailblazers have a truckload of cap space. Why? Because these are the players they currently have under contract for next year. Damian Lillard, Justice Winslow, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Keon Johnson, Nasir Little, Didi Louzada.
Mm-hmm.
That is the list.
Yes.
That is the list.
And they're probably going to have to waive. I watched a Bobby Marks video. They're probably going to waive a player.
They're trying to make moves.
Louzada? Would it be Louzada unless he's included in something else?
I think they're going to try to make another move. Justin Poole says, I was watching another channel and said they had 60 million cap space. Not true. They say we only have 18 million. That's not true at all.
No.
That's not true at all.
That's a stark difference from what we're talking about.
Yes.
18 to 61, that's a huge difference.
They also have a $21 million trade exception. Now,
yes. Going
into next year, what they're saying is that there are cap holds that are in place. Those cap holds will fall off. I'm very much aware of what cap holds are. I'm pretty good at the whole finance thing. Thank you. They will have functional space they will be able to use. They will have deals done and in place that they don't have to worry about. Josh Hart, not Justin Hart, will have as a non-guaranteed contract going into next year.
12.9, right? 12.9
yes.
Next year. Yeah.
So the way things are going, what they are looking at is they are going to add a player between now and the deadline. I have heard it is a show of good faith to the fans, to the franchise, to Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
Not too hard to figure out who that is.
Well, I mean, I think some people can speculate because there's a few names that have been floated with Portland.
But it's Jerami
Okay.
Grant.
Okay, well, if you're going to throw it out there,
I'm going to throw it out
there. It just, I think you go back to the Norm Cub trade.
Yeah.
First of all, let me use this real quick because I've largely tried to avoid instant reaction with a tweet. And it's kind of bone chilling how many people I follow that are like actively choosing to respond to a trade and say, well, they got fleeced. They suck. It's over. This is what happens. They're going to have nobody and they'll have Dame and then they'll want to trade Dame. I'm pretty amazed by that response. Like how fast people are reacting to every single one of these trades. There's no time to marinate. There's no time to allow Joe Cronin to wipe a slate clean and paint a new picture here. There's no context anymore. Everything is so reactionary that I'm watching people at the same time tell me they need to make drastic changes. And if those specific drastic changes don't give them exactly what they want, it's an utter failure and collapse of an organization. It's borderline embarrassing, some of the tweets I saw this morning, given that the deadline has not ended and the fact that they got all this cap space and assets that are easily movable. Now, with that being said, the analogy I'll compare it to me, is if you were to basically say the Portland Trail Blazers were Clark Griswold, and Clark wants to put all the Christmas lights up on the house. You remember that? He wanted to deck his lights out on his house. The Trailblazers handed old Rusty the entire strand of lights in a ginormous knot and Ball and said, well, work on this. And they handed it to Joe Cronin, and he just looked at this and said, oh, dear.
What am I supposed to do with this?
How am I going to un-F this knot? Folks, I know you want instant gratification. You want James Harden, and you want this player and that player to play with Dame. But you cannot hand Joe Cronin a huge knot of Christmas lights and go, you didn't unravel it in time. Yeah. What are you doing, you incompetent SOB? Can we continue to have a little more patience? We see that they're clearing the books. We see that they're acquiring assets that can be used in other moves. And yet we continue to react in the moment as if, well, we traded CJ and we didn't get LeBron James back.
Yeah.
And I'm baffled by the reaction of this in allowing 2 more days to pass, seeing what they have, and just trying. I'm not even pro Blazer here. Like I'm so tired of the, well, you didn't bash the trade, you must be working for the team narrative. It's lazy and it's sad.
Somebody left that comment on one of the videos just today, and I was like, have you followed me for the last decade?
If I don't like something, I'll just tell you I don't like it. Like, I don't benefit financially in any which way telling you how I feel with the Portland Trailblazers. I'm just saying I can see these trades, and I think the reaction to these trades is Neil Blue Balls, Danny. It's a guy who refused to make a move for years and years and years. And when we finally made the move as a player we wanted him to move, it's not what you expected, right? It went from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to,
which again, 5 years ago,
Josh Hart, filler pieces,
a first in a couple
capital, seconds, and a first in 2 seconds. Yeah. And because of that, I think people are reacting to that instead of just simply saying, oh yeah, the last general manager really screwed this franchise over, and the interim guys having to both deal in good faith to Dame to make it a good team, while also completely undoing everything the last guy did.
So let's kind of start from the beginning of all of this. When we did the Joe Cronin interview breakdown, which was the Big Nothing Burger, right? His very first interview he ever gave Brandon, what did he say? Our books are good. Joe's a professional liar. And I mean that in a very, very complimentary fashion. In that the books were awful. Everybody I have talked to around the league for the last couple of days has said this about Norman Powell. Good player. Nobody wanted that deal. Nobody wanted that deal.
I think Hollinger wrote something to that effect, right? That the contract, it really wasn't that.
It was too far out, way too much money. With the cap rising, teams want to create space, not lock themselves into a ton of long-term money that far out. Covington was not viewed as a positive asset.
Well, but then the rumors come out that teams are inquiring about Covington with the Clippers, and people go, well, see, there's even more we could have got for Covington.
Yeah, because you know why? Is because they think the Clippers aren't going for it this year. Or they want to get – does a play-in matter to them when $13 million on Robert Covington probably drops them like $40 million in the luxury tax? Like that's what's missing. That context is missing from all of that. So that's the first part of it. So now the books are clear. You've got no more negative contracts. You don't have a bunch of 28, 29, 30-plus-year-old guys. I will say this, and this is the part that sucks. The Larry Nance part of this, I did not see coming. The Nance part of this, now, I saw him being maybe moved,
yeah,
but not in this deal. That, in early discussions, was the price to get the protections they got on that first-round pick, which is an immediate first-round pick this year, potentially. If the Pelicans get in trouble at all, if they lose some games, if they go one and done in the play-in, the Blazers get a second lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden they're in a pretty good spot come summertime.
That's the thing, is you kind of have to root against CJ and the Pelicans to make the playoffs. Like, if they want to get to play-in, cool, but I'll be actively rooting against them because that pick would be a very valuable asset for this team.
It's going to be really interesting to see what they end up doing with all this. But here's the vision, right? It's Dame. It's Ant. That's your backcourt. No more, well, maybe Ant should come off the bench, or CJ should come off the bench, or Norm should come off the bench, or it's Dame and it's Ant.
Mm-hmm.
That is the backcourt. That is what they are committed to. I have heard both sides of the coin as it pertains to Jusuf Nurkic. I have heard that Toronto and a couple other teams have kicked around. I've also heard that Toronto is perhaps pursuing Myles Turner right now with Goran Dragic and a first-round pick. I have heard a couple other teams are interested in Jerami Grant. I would, after what Sacramento just did with Tyrese Halliburton and Sabonis, which...
What was that?
I have no idea. You wouldn't give up Halliburton for Ben Simmons, but you would for Sabonis. Neither here nor there.
Sacramento, I mean, you talk about a disaster. Sacramento was a
You want to talk about a panic move? That's what a panic move looks like.
Well, how are you selling... So you're doing the Fox Sabonis thing? I guess I just don't really understand it.
Alongside Rashawn Holmes, which, again, I'm not going to sit here and bang that drum right now because that's for another day.
I just text I got somebody down in New Orleans I'm texting that are around the team, and I basically said, hey, what have you heard about the noise? Is the trade done, or do you think there's more? They said, actually, yeah, I'm hearing a lot of Detroit buzz right now. I've been told Dame really wants to play with Grant. Don't know if they'll be able to pull it off, but very possible. And the reason it's not finalized is right now they're trying to
loop Grant into that.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's exactly what I had heard the second the trade went down, was that those two sides of it were done. And that's why Woj didn't say a trade is agreed to and the league has announced it and the Blazers have announced it. It's because they're not done. They're not done. That's the part of this. Does Jusuf Nurkic come back? Nice to have bird rights to fall back on.
Jake Fisher basically indicated that that's a possibility. I'm not ready to go there yet.
But, again, I have heard that they are open to these things. And this is why with the whole Nurk quote, it's kind of like, probably stop that. Here's the other part of this. The functional cap space as they get into the summer, as everybody talks about cap holds. The order of operations here matters. It matters. So how they can do things and what they do here, and floating Bledsoe's contract into the summer potentially, unless Bledsoe ends up being used in this deal, the functional cap space can be a lot, depending on how they maneuver it. So, how much cap space could they have? Enough to facilitate a big move. Let's say, well, I don't know. If they wanted to do it right, order of operations-wise, it gets dicey. But the Philadelphia 76ers want to create a max spot and sign James Harden. Is there any team in the NBA that could facilitate that in the summer?
Portland could jump in and probably help out with that situation.
Could the 76ers then keep Tyrese Maxey? Because they wouldn't be operating in a trade? Just send Ben Simmons into somebody else's cap space?
So the Brooklyn side of that, assuming they don't get a deal done at the deadline, the Brooklyn-Philly thing, because Harden will be gone if they don't get a deal done. And Brooklyn will have gotten
if they get the free agency, yeah. And if he gets the free agency, he's gone.
Now, are you hearing anything about that? Because the Harden-Simmons noise was loud, and then it seemingly kind of died down. And I know we still have a long way to go for this deadline. 2 days doesn't seem like a lot. These guys are on the phone all day, every day. They
were on the phone late last night for the New Orleans deal. I think I told you last night. I think this is going to get done tonight.
Yeah.
But it didn't, and then now here we are, and I was at the doctor's appointment. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how this all shakes out. So, where we are right now, Dame and Nurk, they're chasing Jerami Grant. That's what I know right now. The question is, do they believe in Nasir enough to be a starting three? Do they pursue something else? What are the other avenues? What do they do with the other tertiary parts? What other things do they go after? What other issues? And I've seen a lot of people saying if no free agents are coming to Portland, and this is, I guess I should have dove into this. This is not a free agent coming to Portland situation. This is either a team finds a trade destination or Damian Lillard is recruiting. This is, okay, Dame, we're going to rebuild around you, and this is how we're going to do it. You need to get on the phone. You need to go out there and you need to make something happen. You need to sell Portland and playing with you for the next 2 years. That's how this goes. That's how you fill that other spot.
So I think a lot of it had to do, Danny, with the Woj tweet, because the Woj tweet basically indicated this is the plan. And I don't think Woj is wrong to word it the way he did.
No.
But I think the way he worded it, instantly people go, oh, 60 million in cap space for free agency. Yay, because that's worked out so well. The problem with that, and I saw immediate reaction from it, and somebody tweeted me, and I basically was just like, if you think that they're putting all the eggs in the free agency basket, I wouldn't be going there. I would be going with how you absorb somebody's contract into things while building, vet minimums or whatever else to guys who you can convince to come to Portland that aren't as highly coveted as some of the bigger names. So I think it's more people reacting to that and saying, well, free agency, we're not free agency players. We're not.
No.
But Dame can recruit guys who, if certain teams and players are in the right position, you can absorb those contracts now, and it makes it easier.
And the opportunity to go ahead and switch some things up, but it's going to be interesting. So what's over the next 2 days, as it pertains to Jerami Grant, what's going to be interesting to see how this progresses, do they give up that first-round pick they just got from New Orleans? Because I think that has more value than Jerami Grant. I think it's that pick has an opportunity. If the Pelicans don't get good quick, which I think they will, but there's like a 10-15% chance at least that they hover around like 9, 10, 11. I think they'll get a little bit better for sure because CJ's scoring punch. They can't score. That's been their
we'll
biggest
see.
issue.
I mean, CJ might score, but like, how does he work within what they do? I think that's the other thing we largely overlook is we just assume a player that's really good at something is going to fit right into that role. And he might. I kind of hope CJ plays well, but I'm not under the assumption New Orleans is going to figure something out. They've largely been an embarrassment.
With that, let's look at this from the New Orleans side of things. This is David Griffin, I think, is panicking a little bit here. More
He's
than a
saving
little
his job. Yeah.
He just did basically what he could without mortgaging the guys to get a 30-year-old making $60+ million, $65 million over the next 2 years.
Who's not on the same age timeline, by the way.
No.
As Zion and B.I.
Of any of their guys, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's a risky proposition for them. And everybody's like, oh my God, I keep seeing the word fleeced. The Blazers' goals were not to get back players.
I guess I probably seemed pretty frustrated. And at that, I'm sorry. But what I guess what I would ask with what you're bringing up. So it seems to me that we've all kind of been largely in the same camp. Like there's fringe people that are just like, no, just keep being a 7 and 8 seed and losing in round one, and darn it, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the vast majority of us have largely been in the same camp, right? How you get there is not 100% agreeable, but like we're largely in the same mindset. What were some of those people thinking you were going to get for Norm? What were people thinking you were going to get with a non-all-star being paid like an all-NBA player in CJ in a moment where you knew that they had to trade him?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just confused. My expectations weren't very high. In fact, it kind of came at right where I was about it would go. Now, Jerami Grant's involved. That's even better than I thought. I'm just confused what people's expectations were. I'm not telling you it's a great trade, but Kevin Pelton is a hell of a lot smarter than I'll ever be in basketball. He gave the Pelicans a fat C-. He gave Portland an A. I don't think Kevin Pelton is in the business of going, I'm going to give Portland the better grade because, doggone it, I go to
If anything, everybody thinks he grades him too low. It's hilarious.
So I'm more confused because I see the criticism, but I want to respond. I don't, but my response is like, what was your expectation exactly? Because the national voice, it felt like was instant, whoa, that's it. What's Portland doing? That's idiotic. And maybe long-term it will be. But then I start seeing Peltons and Bobby Marks of the world who...
The people who work in the ins and outs of this on a daily basis.
They're a little more, than a national guy giving a hot take. Here's my hot take. Retweet it, hate it, whatever. Like, some of these dudes don't operate into that sphere.
No.
And I watched the Marks video and I read the Pelton piece, and both are kind of like, this move makes a lot of sense. In fact, Bobby Marks in the video was like, and I wouldn't be shocked people don't think about this. The trade is not finalized yet. If there's a third team involved, and Pelton's telling you how important this move is for the financial purposes of what Portland is maybe aiming to do. So I guess
it's almost like the rest of the league knows that there's more coming.
What did people expect to get, I guess, from Norm Powell and CJ McCollum is my big question.
And that's the same thing. Shout out Team Mom. She just says, what were people thinking they were going to get that would help build something? Yeah. Again, this gets back to the fundamental point of Nickeil Olshey handed out a pile of bad contracts. Not one, not two, not three.
Not four, not five, not six, not seven.
Here's what's funny. They still owe, 2.8, 2.5? It's one of those, 2.8 or 2.5 to Andrew Nicholson again for the next 3 years.
He's got that Bobby Bonilla deal. Thanks, Olshey.
And it's more than the $1 million. It's triple that.
Yeah.
But they are they have not had a hard reset like this in this organization in modern history. They are starting not, and here's the thing: they're not tearing it down to go OKC and take back players and bad money. The whole point of this, and this is what I tried to emphasize in the Norman Powell deal, is that what they did in taking back the Bledsoe money was they took back money they could float a little bit longer so they could stay above certain levels so they'd have another asset. Now, if that comes back to bite them in the butt and they just have to waive it and buy him out, so be it. But, and again, was it 2 weeks ago when we had this trade deadline preview? What was the thing that I said, Brandon? And you weren't thrilled about it, but I said August 1st.
Not thrilled about that, but I'm starting to
come around ever so slightly.
Yeah, no doubt. I think I'll still be I'm not. You know how I feel about Nurkic.
Yes.
I don't think anything will change my stance on that.
I'm there with you, but I am giving it until August 1st. Giving it until August 1st before I'm going to go ahead and lose my mind, because this team this season does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
It does not matter outside of tanking to get a better asset. And ladies and gentlemen, they have like 9 guards right now. Yeah, they might lose to the Magic tonight.
Well, Ant will single-handedly win the game, but I'm hoping that they lose. I had a buddy text me and go, bro, walk me through why we need 9 guards. And I go, you think that they're just going to roll with 9 guards? Like, that's the plan here? We're going to roll with 9? Like, Neil's not the GM anymore. This is his pipe dream, but this is not the long-term plan for Joe Cronin.
So, again, what does this do overall for the organization? Let's just kind of set the table for everybody else. It's kind of pumping in because we've got over 750 people in here right now. You were building around Damian Lillard, but you were optimizing what you want to build around him with a different vision, which is no longer the Dame CJ backcourt. Even if it is Dame and Ant, and you say it's about the same, it's this, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same. It's a different entity. Not only that, it's going to be probably $15 million less expensive. That's a big difference. That
is a huge difference for a city.
What do I call that, Brandon? That's a whole ass starter.
Yeah.
Okay. So, whether or not Josh Hart features into this, we don't know. But his money comes off the books and non-guaranteed. You figure some stuff out. Questioning his agent right now, that's for sure, because he's a good player on a way too good of a deal for teams. Yusuf Nurkic, they have options. Outside of that, they can go a lot of different ways. Whereas when they trade a player for a player that has years left, because teams weren't just going to give up good, great players for CJ McCollum without some warts. They were going to be locked in and kicking the can and kicking the can and kicking the can. For all of the risk-taking, for all of the situations where everybody's like, I just want them to do this. They have cut all the strings but one. Mm-hmm. And it's the biggest string on the team that nobody should be cutting until it's absolutely pertinent, and he says so.
So I want to add to this. I had Richmond on the radio show because I knew we were going to do the pod, and I didn't want to get the takes out before the podcast. So Richmond, I think brought up a good point. Not that I didn't know it, but some people might be thinking this stuff, and you can't help but do it. Dame was last summer in a weird spot, and he was indicating some things without directly indicating things. And then Giannis won. I said this before. Giannis winning might have been the biggest thing for Portland last summer of anything else. Small market team wins with superstar player. He changes the tune. I'm all in. I think he's reiterated 1 or 2 times this season, just like I'm here. The rumor mill, by the way, is the extension is coming in the summertime. This is why I largely have not freaked the F out at the Norm and CJ trades. How many articles have you seen today so far, and maybe tomorrow there'll be one, about indications of Damian Lillard feeling uneasy right now?
Mark Stein has been the only person I've seen that says anything, and the only thing that it said is organizations maybe test whether or not Damian Lillard's commitment is real right now.
Test the loyalty. Yeah. That is not a Portland side of things. No. That is
every outside in, not inside out.
And Mike said this morning, and it needs to be thrown in the pod. You think Dame Lillard didn't know that these things were happening?
He knew every single one of these things were coming.
You think Dame Lillard is operating under the assumption as a player who wants to win, or at least get to a point where he can have an opportunity to win, under the assumption they're running it with Ant and a bunch of nobodies?
This is Damian Lillard flexing his muscle on personnel for the first time in his career.
That's exactly the feel that I have had with this. This is why I'm waiting to watch Joe Cronin and Dame paint this picture. I'm not going to way overreact to hypothetical trades that the trade machine gave me and say, well, that's weird. I plugged in Norm Powell from Myles Turner, and it said I was going to get that. And when you don't get Myles Turner because the trade machine told you would, you tend to get very upset and question things. Joe Cronin's been in this league for 14 years, maybe longer. I think Joe Cronin is mapping something out that leads this to be a different version built around Dame, and Damian Lillard is well aware of that.
For all of the discussions in October, November, and leading into December before Nickeil Alexander-Walker's dismissal, there was discussion about a power struggle. Damian Lillard won the power struggle, and they are going to put a team around him of dudes that he wants. Why not? Because the previous 10 years did not work. The other guy did not do well by him on the basketball court. He got him his money. On the basketball side of things, he failed to make moves of consequence. I have been saying that since 2015. Now they are making moves of consequence. I am not saying that everything they're doing right now is going to work out just in the most grandiose fashion. This could blow up in their face. But I was tired of the same old, and I said, if you step up to the plate and you swing and you take real risks, I can live with that. Mm-hmm. That's all I've ever wanted from any franchise I've ever followed. Do not settle for mediocrity. Be building up to something or be tearing down from something. Do not be stuck in the middle.
Howard Beck told me yesterday, you have to be bold if you're Portland. You cannot continue to bang your head against the wall and think that middle-of-the-road pieces are going to change this. And I know there's a lot of feelings tied to these things because CJ's been here his whole career.
Mm-hmm. He's been a good player.
He's been a good player. Norm is a very likable dude. Instantly, I thought got some fandom behind him. He had the house story, which sucked, that his furniture just came to Portland. I forgot who said it, but Norm's going to be at the whiskey or the whiskey library in the summertime, and then he's going to go back to Los Angeles and play. But I think what we also need to take into account is, as fun as it was, as you know, that Western Conference Finals was a real high. It's 4 of the last 5 have been first round exits.
As high as that was, last year's first round exit was as or more embarrassing.
And I'd throw in if the Clippers don't suffer huge injuries to Paul and Griff, and you're talking about more first round exits than what they had. So yes, these guys are likable. They were good dudes. They're good people. And it sucks to see a guy like CJ go. But folks, let's not act like they're blowing up a Western Conference final roster. This was a one and done team largely for the last 5 years. And last year was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. They tried to run it back, and it was an utter disaster to do that.
This season never should have happened.
No, it shouldn't have.
And we that was us kind of, as we launched this show coming into this season, was like, this shouldn't be going this way. But I think this is a good place for Trailblazers fans to be. It is going to be crazy. It is going to be nuts. But when the trade deadline comes and goes on the 10th, they are not done. They are not done. I have been told by numerous people, that they are looking. They were actually looking to be busier in the summer. but they felt a little bit of the pressure of, let's give some faith, let's give some trust, and that's why we're hearing news about Jerami Grant. So, here's your carrot. It's been the stick for so many years. If only. They are looking to deliver. They just made moves of consequence. Now, those consequences could come back again and blow up in their face. But I have to believe, because I have said this for literal years, Brandon, I have to believe that the thought of going this path, they have players in place who they think are gettable, that can fill a role that will do what Joe Cronin's vision is to do. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine if they've been linked to players like Jerami Grant and Myles Turner, that they're looking for long, athletic, switchable, defensive-minded players to surround a backcourt of Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons, and to see what happens.
I would look at a team who, I don't know why, but your Ant hat actually reminds me of them for some reason. I would look at a team in Toronto who's doing exactly this. It's Fred VanVleet, and it's a bunch of super athletic wings, some of which can shoot, but others are just freaks. And it makes switching on defense and help defense, it makes it all easier. Again, I'm not telling you it's going to be exactly what Toronto is. Toronto's in a great spot, but I think you need to kind of be thinking in those terms. I want to add too, if the Grant thing comes into this trade, it couldn't, but if it does, does that make people reassess the move?
I think people start looking at that and they go, because I think there's certainly a portion of the fan base right now who thinks this is a tear down, and they are terrified. Dame is leaving, he's forcing his way out, or it's going to be Dame, Ant, and a bunch of dudes, and it's not going to be worth watching, and all this. I think that's the thinking behind this, is you accomplish a couple things. You calm the fan base, you calm the organization in general, you show a token of good faith, you make Damian Lillard happy, and I think it all tracks.
And you also, if you get that New Orleans pick and you finish tanking as bad as we think they're going to, you might have a top 4 pick in your arsenal.
I was literally just going to get to that
pick.
What if they stumble into a top 4 pick, and now they've got a rookie scale contract at what, anywhere between $8 and $9 million for a player that could be incredibly talented.
Yes,
that you wouldn't get out on the open market for anywhere close to that money.
Or a player, and I'm just throwing this out there, a player we don't expect to just say, I'm done here, and the team's like, okay, how we pivot.
I have a strong feeling that Jaylen Brown is going to ask out this summer.
There's a lot of indications on that tea leaf that that's the way it's going. Not happy. Their team has been disappointing. He largely seems to get the blame over there. He's a West Coast kid. I've thrown that out, but we'll have to kind of wait and see on some of that stuff. Now we're getting into the grandiose. Oh, they're telling me Grant and Brown and Dame and Ant, and I'm not telling you who's going to be here. I'm just saying
this is the thought process. These are the opportunities that are now opened.
With the flexibility that they've allowed themselves with these trades. They're tough trades to take in, but it's next step thinking, I'd imagine, from Joe Cronin of, I can turn this into that, which allow me to bring in this and me to ship that out. That's the way they're operating. And it's a new vision. It's a new vision with Damian Lillard. And so that's why I'm weirdly trying to lean optimistic instead of being the natural Blazer thought of, well, it's not going to work out for us. It might not, but I'm with you. I largely got sick of seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And I'd like to see this team be a little bold.
And I think that's the opportunity. Whereas if they're swapping players like everybody kind of wanted them to do a couple weeks ago, and even up until today, was not an option on the table, because it was just going to be rearranging deck chairs, which is what the Trailblazers have done for years. And I'm glad that they have undone the work, the negative work of the Nickeil Alexander-Walker era. Yeah, that's really what this was. We're well over 830 people in here, so thank you all for all the new folks. Please like, rate, review, subscribe. If you're watching here live, click subscribe on the YouTube channel. It's free. It's easy. It helps us grow the channel. If you're coming back, again, welcome. We appreciate you. We love you. Jack Ramsays podcast available wherever you get podcasts. We are not going to do a pregame show today because it's the Orlando Magic, and you're not going to know who's playing tonight. So
I just want to add this. You're 100% right. I think people on the games, we're watching for growth, and then we're rooting for losses. Kevin Pelton. This is from Kevin Pelton's piece.
Yes, please go.
And Pelton said, Blazers got an A in this trade. Pelicans got a C-. This is a blurb. I saw this from David Locke. Kevin Pelton, quote, frankly, McCollum should have held negative trade value because of his contract. Instead, the Blazers are getting considerable positive value in return, end quote.
Kevin Pelton's not making shit up. That's all I'm saying.
He's not on the payroll either, so...
So for everybody out there, this is. I've seen some stuff in here like I don't know if I can. Maybe some things just aren't explainable to some people.
Like what? Give me an example.
Sports Talk with Troy says so far the new GM is Nickeil Alexander-Walker 2.0. He's literally the antithesis of that.
He's trading the Nickeil Alexander guy.
Every bit of Nickeil Alexander. He is taking the Nickeil Alexander. His first order was to get rid of the biggest, longest lasting, most recent things that Nickeil Alexander has done.
Cove gone. Norm gone. CJ gone.
Nance gone.
Nance gone. But Nance was kind of a reach to be a playoff team this year. Like whatever. But like those three specifically, those are the anti-Nickeil Alexander moves that Neil wouldn't make.
So it's gonna be interesting. Next 48 hours gonna be interesting. As far as Brandon and I doing a live deadline show,
I mean, you know,
that may or may
happens,
not. It depends on what happens between now and then. If they don't figure some things out, I've seen a lot of people in the comments mention DeAndre Ayton. Listen, if the Blazers get real spicy and they think that the Suns are like, and they do a sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton, Daddy likes. Just saying. Like, if your core going forward after this is Ant and DeAndre Ayton, I'm good. I'm good.
I feel like, Danny, I feel like a lot of us have been in this spot of make a move of considerable weight. You know what I mean? Like, go make the move that might lead to the next great thing. And the McCollum era was fun. And, you know, I think he deserves a lot of credit for the way he had to kind of fill in with Dame, like, you know, play off Dame, because he's kind of a similar player, but just not quite the level. He did a lot of great things for this franchise. I'm still mad at Terry for sitting him the fourth quarter of that Bulls game when he had 50 points. He should have gone for 70, and I will never hear different. He saved him in game 7 in Denver. Dame could not hit a bucket. CJ came up big. You know, he did these kinds of things. I will always remember that era.
CJ's number probably gets retired.
Well, I mean, if there's a player to be retired, CJ has the statistical backing for it, the longevity and the statistical backing. They had some success.
And some moments like
it's a tough pill to swallow today, because it's a combination of a restart and you're losing
so many other things that are just kind of like, it's all the emotions at once.
It really is, and it's hard to process that. But like, I think why I feel this way today has nothing to do with me saying, well, it's the Grand Slam trade. I think it's just about seeing the flexibility that allows this team, with Damian Lillard still wanting to be here, which to me is the biggest thing that's not getting talked about enough, is that national voices are seeing this move going, well, this was idiotic. And Dame has been mum, quiet, and largely probably okayed most of this stuff. And if he asks out, then sure, I'll roast the team. But today, I'm just choosing to kind of look at this as I've been asking for big moves.
And here's the beginning of it. Again, a couple questions here before we wrap up. Number one, watch party during the game. Yes, the watch party will happen. Everybody who's a member, go ahead and come on in. I'm sure a bunch of folks will be there tonight. Again, if you want to take part of those watch parties, all you got to do is click join on the community tab here on YouTube. $2.99. You'll get into all the watch parties for here throughout the rest of the year. As well as some, we'll probably end up doing, after I come back from surgery, we'll do a members-only chat to kind of go over everything that has happened, like what's the situation going forward. So, which will probably be post All-Star break. And the other question is, what would a deal look like for Jerami Grant? I have heard multiple different situations. So you got something?
Well, Jake Fisher just tweeted, having already moved from Norm Powell and CJ, Portland still engaged in conversations with Detroit on acquiring Jerami Grant.
Yeah, it's happening. Like they're trying.
They're moving.
Yeah, they're trying to do it. So when there's a couple different outcomes for the Jerami Grant deal. They could trade him directly into the TPE they just created, which is $21 million. They could use the Eric Bledsoe money if the Pistons want to get just – because here's the deal. The Pistons are about to have a crap ton of cap space in the offseason. Do they want more? What are the options? I'm sure the Pistons are sitting there going, ooh, first-round pick, juicy. I'm sure that's how that's going right now. And the Blazers are like, we have other options first. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you're in Detroit. You're close to Canada. Maybe he plays better close to Canada.
He starts making his jump shots.
Yeah, maybe he gets better the closer he is to home. I don't know. Maybe they like Josh Hart. Again, non-guaranteed deal. Hey, Josh Hart, okay.
They're going the complete. I mean, it's evident that they're going that Cade Cunningham rebuild route, right? So they're going to be toying with some things the next 2 years. You don't give up the draft capital, which is my fingers crossed on that, and you can still get Grant out of there. That's a pretty good trade deadline, is it not? Dame, Grant, Ant. You still have cap space to absorb, and you'll have potentially 2 lottery picks.
Let me tell you, if I went into this on blind and said, you're coming out of this with Dame, Ant, Grant, Nasir, like going into next year, and 2 top 10 picks.
I think you'd go, yeah, I'll take that.
You're like,
right? Wouldn't you?
Oh, and you also have functional cap space that while you're not a free agent destination, there's probably the deal on the table.
Look,
I'm not saying collusion, but collusion.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Well, the NBA is the entire league is collusion. First of all, second of all, I will not dive into those waters. We have been burned and burned and burned in that category. But if this is finally Dame going against what he said years ago,
I don't really recruit.
I just do my job. Yeah, it's not my thing. If Dame is now like hitting up the Olympic buds, there's a group chat.
Again, where all of the deals where the NBA has been made over the last 15 years. You know what's happened? At the Olympics. KD and Kyrie, Olympics. The Iguodala to Golden State, Olympics.
Yeah.
LeBron, Wade, Bosch, Olympics.
Again, I'm not going to conclude that they're getting an Olympic, bro. I'm just saying,
Green.
Well, they might win a championship. I don't know how you leave a championship situation.
I'm
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just like, I don't know how if you're Draymond, you rationalize that. You got something in your eye there.
Something in my eye.
I hope that Dame can sway somebody. You know, there's a lot of guys out there, and
got a little wiggle in my chair. I don't know what's happening.
You're weirdly too happy. Like you weirdly thinking like you're getting Kevin Durant or James Harden or something right now. And
I'm just saying.
I'll take Ben Simmons and be happy, to be honest.
I think there are options on the table that people are not going to consider until it happens and go, oh, that was possible?
Which that's how this league operates, is it not?
Exactly.
So, who would have painted Russell Westbrook going to the Lakers a year from right now? Laker fan would have hated that.
And reminder, the Lakers called the Blazers and offered Russ for CJ. So there's your giggles for the day.
There you go. And the Lakers suck, so that makes it even better. All
right. So we're going to wrap it there. Thank you all so very much. We appreciate it. We love you. Thank you all so much. Again, no pregame today. This is going to serve as your pregame. If you're just getting in, I will take this. I will load this up and put this on the podcast like in the next few minutes so you guys can grab it on the audio version, or you can watch the replay. It's up to you. Again, like, rate, review, subscribe. If you're new here, please click subscribe on the channel. It's free. It is easy. And it helps us grow the channel. It is a fantastic day. Could go up in flames.
Right now, we've been losing in round 1 anyway.
Listen, man, I got the brick on the gas pedal right now. Like, whee! For anybody who was wondering,
cliff ahead.
Yeah, for anybody who was wondering what that wee sounds like in my tweets, that's what it is right there. Whee! Again, we love you all. Thank you all so very much. Like, rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on social media at Jack Ramsays, at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague. Email the show, jackramsays@gmail.com. We will catch you guys for the live watch party tonight and then for the post-game show. We appreciate you.